The tiger cub ran with everything its tiny body had left. Snow sprayed beneath its paws as it pushed through the frozen grass of the northern forest. Behind it, deep in the shadows of the taiga, the haunting howls of wolves echoed through the trees. They were close, too close. The cub was barely 10 weeks old, too young, too slow, and completely alone. Its mother had vanished days earlier during a violent snowstorm that swept across the vast forests of the Russian Far East. Since then, the cub had wandered the frozen wilderness, hungry and frightened. Now the forest had become silent, except for the wolves. A pack of 6 gray hunters burst through the trees behind it, their yellow eyes locked onto the tiny striped shape stumbling through the snow. In the wild, weakness never goes unnoticed. The cub darted toward a fallen tree trunk lying across a shallow ravine. With a desperate leap, it scrambled onto the rough bark and climbed upward, claws digging into frozen wood. Below, the wolves gathered. They circled the trunk slowly, their breath forming clouds in the icy air. One wolf snapped its jaws, leaping toward the cub, but the bark was too steep. The cub crouched on a thin branch, trembling. Its heart hammered wildly. Real fact, gray wolves are highly intelligent pack hunters that work together to track and surround prey. The wolves knew patience. They would wait. Minutes passed, then hours. The cub grew weaker as the cold wind sliced through its thin fur. But something else moved through the forest. A large shape approached silently through the trees. A full-grown female, a moor tiger. The wolves sensed it first. Their ears snapped forward. The tigress stepped into the clearing, massive paws sinking into the snow. Her amber eyes burned with quiet fury. Real fact, the Amur tiger is the largest tiger subspecies and can weigh over 300 kilograms. The wolves hesitated. Even in a pack, facing an adult tiger was dangerous. The tigress let out a deep roar that rolled through the frozen forest like thunder. The wolves backed away slowly, then melted into the trees. Silence returned. The cub stared down from the branch, trembling. The tigress sniffed the air. She was not the cub's mother, but something about the tiny striped creature stirred an instinct deep inside her. The cub climbed down slowly. Step by step, when it reached the snow, it collapsed from exhaustion. The tigress lowered her massive head and gently nudged the cub with her nose. The cub let out a weak cry. For a long moment, the great predator simply watched. Then she did something no one expected. She lay down beside the cub, curling her enormous body around it to shield it from a freezing wind. The cub had found protection. Days turned into weeks. The tigers began bringing small prey, hares, birds, even a young deer, to feed the cub. Slowly, the cub grew stronger. It followed her through the forest, learning the silent language of survival, how to move without sound, how to read the wind, how to watch the shadows. Seasons passed. Winter melted into spring. Spring became summer. The cub was no longer helpless. It grew into a powerful young tiger, strong and confident beneath the tall pines of the taiga. But the forest never forgets. One evening, years later, the tiger moved quietly through a valley filled with tall grass. A familiar sound drifted through the trees. Wolves. The same cold howls that once chased it through the snow. The tiger froze. Memories flashed through his mind. The cold, the fear, the desperate climb up the tree. The pack emerged from the shadows. Older now, but still dangerous. They had not yet noticed the tiger. The wolves were focused on something else. A small figure struggling in the grass. A wolf pup. The pup had fallen into a narrow, rocky crevice. It whined helplessly as the pack circled above, unable to reach it. The tiger watched in the shadows. This was the moment. The wolves who once hunted it were vulnerable. One strike, one attack, the pack would scatter. Revenge was within reach. The tiger stepped forward. The wolves immediately stiffened. Low growls rippled through the pack. But the tiger did not attack. Instead, it walked calmly toward the crevice. The wolves were stunned. The massive predator leaned down and carefully reached into the narrow gap. With slow, controlled strength, the tiger lifted the trapped wolf pup out of the rocks. For a moment, the entire forest seemed to hold its breath. The tiger placed the pup gently on the grass. The wolves stared confused and tense. Then the tiger stepped back. The pup scrambled toward its pack. No one moved. The wolves watched the tiger, unsure what to do. Then something remarkable happened. The alpha wolf lowered its head slightly. Not fear, not submission, recognition. A silent understanding passed between predator and pack. The tiger turned and disappeared into the forest. No revenge, no violence, only the quiet balance of the wild. Sometimes survival does not create enemies. Sometimes it creates something far rarer, respect. And deep in the endless forest of the taiga, the wind carried both their stories into the night.